If you felt stuck, like everything is just too hard, you're not doing a good job as a mum, a property manager, or a business owner, and you want to quit or just give up, and quite frankly, are just so fed up, then you, my friend, might be just stuck in a fixed mindset. And if you asked, what the hell is that? Then this episode is for you. We're going to do a deep dive on mindset and how to shift it. Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 16 of the Property Management Podcast. I'm your host, Kylie Walker, aka That Property Mum. And wow, I can't believe I'm here already at episode 16. Now, if you told me 2 years ago I'd have my very own podcast out in the universe, I would have said, "You're crazy. I can't do that. Who'd want to listen to anything I've got to say?" And that right there is what this podcast is all about, mindset. Now, mindset is broadly defined as a set of beliefs that shape how you make sense of the world and yourself. It influences how you think, feel, and behave in any given situation. Now, as a property manager and a working mum, it can be a very real struggle daily to keep your mindset right. Not only are you plagued with guilt, not feeling like you are doing a good job at home or in the office, and to top it off, you are usually faced with a barrage of negativity in the office as well. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. How often does anyone say thank you in property management? Not very often. Now, my guest today is Hermione Hart. Many of you might know her as Hermione Gardner, but she's just got married. And after many years in the trenches as a property manager, she has started a business called Sidekick, designed to support business owners and teams shine. She provides mentoring and personal development coaching to support growth without burning out. She focuses on shifting mindset, increasing productivity, and cultivating happy property managers and workplaces. And that's what we all want, right? So let's take a listen to the tips, strategies, and advice she shares. Not only just on mindset, but she also gives some great strategies around organization, time management, and juggling it all with consciousness and calmness. Hi, Hermione. Thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast today. Now, before we dive in, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the industry?
Probably like most of us, I didn't really plan on getting into property management. It was not a career path. I used to work at a video shop and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And yeah, my mom was just selling our family house at the time. I got a bit interested in it and started a TAFE course, and then got like a part-time job at a local real estate agent. Started from the bottom, like doing all the running around and, doing all the, I was going to say, little lucky kind of jobs, but then just worked my way up over the years, like most of us have done, and ended up running portfolios and managing leasing and new business teams in Sydney before I sort of stepped away from the front line. So yeah, it was not an intentional plan like most of us, but it sort of naturally evolved over the years and learnt on the go like most of us.
And your business has evolved into a couple of different avenues now. Can you just share what the stuff that you're doing now around the mentoring and your Sidekick business?
Yeah, so Sidekick originally started, it was going to be an outsourcing business, but then I had a child and couldn't really get out on the road as much as I could before, and so that kind of changed the path of Sidekick. And over the years, I've done a lot of my own personal development, including a lot of work on mindset and resilience and stress, a lot of therapy and counseling to kind of get through some stuff that I've been through over the years. And so it's just sort of naturally evolved, and taking the skills I had in property management and growing rent rolls, but also that streamlining systems and procedures kind of thing's always really been my jam. And kind of melding that with that mindset and stress and resilience piece, because I was an overworked, stressed property manager, like a lot of people in the industry right now. And there wasn't a lot of that awareness and support around mindset. So, the key to kind of streamlining systems and processes now for me, and working with the business owners, it's really like, well, let's design things in a way so that it gives you less stress and it gives you more time. And so, Sidekicks evolved to be a business and personal development coaching business, where I work with people either one-on-one or in teams to really get that result.
Brilliant. Well, I want to take you back to the start of the year for a minute and share with our listeners that because of your planning party that you hosted back in January, where you made us write down our biggest goals for the year and sort of do a bit of planning around what we wanted to achieve. And mine was launching this podcast in March. And well, here I am. And we are now recording episode 16, which is absolutely crazy. So I owe you a massive thank you and can really attest to the work that you do. It really is valuable. But let's go back to the basics for a minute here and talk about what is mindset and why is it so important?
Oh, goodness. I think mindset's going to mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. Mindset for me, it's sort of like it's like a muscle, right? It's really around that resilience piece for me. I think the strength of our mindset has a big impact on how we handle stress. And I really believe the difference between, I notice in myself when my mindset is really strong, stressful situation comes along, I can kind of handle it calmly and rationally and think through it strategically and handle that situation well, as opposed to when my mindset isn't strong, which, I'm not perfect all the time, where people will say, oh, you look like you got it all together. I definitely don't. Definitely have days and weeks and months where my mindset isn't strong. And in those times, it's, something stressful comes along and I don't handle it well. It stresses me out. I overthink. I snap quicker. And so I really think it's the mindset piece. It's like a muscle for our mind, that the great thing about that is we can strengthen it and it can improve, right? We're not just stuck with what we've got in how we are able to handle things. You are actually able to put strategies and tools into place to actually help yourself be able to better handle the stress. And I feel like that's really empowering.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the work that I've done around mindset, they talk about this growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And I have found in property managers over the sort of almost 15 years now that I've been working in property management, there is very much a fixed, or there has in the past been a very fixed mindset mentality. But that doesn't mean you have to stay fixed. So fixed mindset is, just for anyone listening who's not aware of the different concepts, fixed mindset is, nothing can change. It is just the way that it is. It's black and it's white. There's no grey areas, which we all know in property management. There is so many grey areas, too many grey areas for my liking sometimes. Whereas a growth mindset will see things, difficult situations, as a opportunity to learn or grow. So what about, for you, what are some of your best mindset tips and strategies, especially for property managers when you are dealing with a barrage of negativity day in and day out? It's really hard to be in that growth or that better mindset, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I know that I spent a decent amount of my life in a fixed mindset, now that I have that that awareness. Yeah. So much. Just as you said, feeling like, oh, well, it is the way it is. I am the way I am. Like I've been in that place, and it takes a lot of time to kind of really, I would say now I do sit in much more of a growth mindset space. It's not to say I don't slip back sometimes, because we're human, but I think I always say that awareness is the first step to change. And so in anything, even if you just Google, say, fixed mindset, and there's beautiful images that come up with all phrases of what's a fixed mindset and what's a growth mindset. And just that initial process of going, oh, okay, I relate to a lot more of those phrases on the fixed side, right? That awareness alone is like, okay, well, I can either, like, awareness is great, right? Because I can go, okay, I can either accept it, right, and stay in that fixed mindset, or wow, that's something I would like to change. Okay, now that we're aware of it, we can go, that's something I'd like to change. And that tiny process has just moved you into a growth mindset, like just that awareness alone. And like one of the big components of a growth mindset is self-awareness. And so one of the things and tools and strategies that I use myself, and it's why coaching exists, and a lot of those coaching processes, is a self-reflection process. And that might be either daily, weekly, monthly. Most of us do it annually, generally around that New Year's time. That's the general time we'll sort of reflect and go, oh, how did we go? Or like, what do we want to achieve for the year ahead? But more often than not, if we're waiting a whole year before we reflect and see, well, how are we doing? What's working? What's not? We're going to be moving through change quite slowly. So for myself, like I've got on a daily thing, I've got like a personal daily planner, and at the bottom of the planner, it's just got, how did my day go? Did it go to plan or did it not go to plan? Okay. So that's just a simple self-reflection process that allows me to go, all right, what didn't go to plan and what might need to shift for tomorrow? At a weekly level or monthly level, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, what do I need to shift or change and improve? And then, that process, like what we talked about, that kind of goal setting and intention setting reflection process we did at the start of the year, to actually do that every sort of 3 months or 90 days to really check in with, well, how am I progressing towards what I want to achieve? What's working, what's not working, and what do I need to shift? That self-reflection process, whether you do it yourself or with someone else, that alone will keep you in that growth mindset space, because it's forcing you to reflect and then look at what you might need to shift to move forwards. And it's giving your mindset that awareness that there is possible to change.
That is brilliant advice. I think that self-reflection is so important, and there is so many tools and journals, and I use journaling as a daily journal as sort of one of my self-reflection prompts, especially if I'm stuck on something, an idea, or something's not moving in the right direction in my business. I'll go grab a pen and paper and we'll sit down. I mean, I am surrounded by notepads, which is really annoying sometimes because I don't know which one I actually wrote down.
I write that.
Yeah, so
I know I had a good idea.
And I also use a full focus planner. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. It's a Michael Hyatt product, who is one of the biggest productivity time management people in the US. And I have really found that a very valuable tool in not only just feeling more organized and in control of my day, because otherwise you get on that treadmill sometimes, and life just you go through one week to the next, and you're like, have I actually done anything? Have I achieved anything? And I think it's even particularly hard for working mums as well, because not only are you, running businesses or managing businesses and managing teams and managing portfolios, but then you've also got little people at home, and you're in the throes of this. Mine are teenagers now, so I'm trying to get them to hang out and spend more time with me at home at the moment. But I guess for working mums, and you get in that guilt cycle as well. If you're not at the kids' school events and sports, you feel guilty. But then if you're letting your team or your boss down at work, you feel guilty. So have you got any mindset or strategies that can help mums, I guess, overcome that sometimes crippling guilt and that not good enough feeling that we have? You're letting somebody down.
Yeah. I think I was reflecting on this a little bit last few days, and a couple of pieces in that on like both the daily planning plus that guilt piece. I think that like for me in particular, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I know that a lot of property managers also probably are, and have very high expectations of myself. So I think for me, my guilt comes from like I know I want to be doing a better job for my clients. I want to be doing a better job for my kids, but I feel stretched across all of them. And sometimes like I'm not doing a really good job at any one thing. Right. And so like definitely this week in particular, like I've got a morning practice I usually do, which I've got it's called a best self journal. I think it's quite similar to the full focus one. And so, each morning I try and sit down and map out what's my big task I want to get done today, literally then, rewrite down what my day is going to look like. And on the days I do that, I'm more in control and I get more done, which actually then allows me that when it comes 5 o'clock and I have to pick my kids up, I can actually be more present and there with them, because I know that I've got the big stuff done and that my day kind of I achieved what I needed to achieve, and I wasn't just stuck in the busy working out of my inbox all day. And I literally can be a living experiment for this, because the last 2 days, so what is it? Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, we were recording this on Wednesday. I haven't done that morning practice. And I have felt in the mornings when I'm trying to get the kids ready, I've felt like I'm already sort of trying to check my phone and see what I've got on. I'm trying to rush the kids out the door so I can because I think I've got so much to do. When they've come home, I've been okay, go in the front of the TV while I'm still kind of juggling emails, right? So I haven't kind of been using that planning and organization tool, which I feel has it's led to more of those kind of guilt and stretched feelings, because I'm kind of trying to be everything to everyone. But in reflection, I can look back at the days, say last week, I had a week where every single day I had that in place. And it's funny, some people are oh, I don't want routine and structure, I want freedom. But for me, having that routine and structure and having that process in place, and then, being able to then achieve 80 or 90% of the things that I set out to achieve, and then knowing that, well, everything that's not done, I wasn't meant to get done today anyway, then allows me to then switch off and know that, cool, I've done a good job in that area. And then I can actually I'm going to relax with the kids a bit and be more present around dinner time and bedtime, and not be just got to get them to bed so I can get on the computer and do more work that I didn't get done today.
Yeah.
So I think in combining there's a piece there in both of that those two, the planning and the organization, and allowing that freedom to not feel that guilt so much, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, because I have a very similar practice, and I usually do mine. I have a work shutdown routine. So at the end of my day, I will reflect on, tick off what I've achieved for the day. Then I will go back and then plan my next day. So I'll do the same, write my 3 biggest things that I've got to get done, have a bit of a to-do list there as well, check what appointments I've got, and then usually check my emails in case there's anything urgent. And then I will shut down my computer and I can go inside and I'm present with my family, and I love to cook dinner and watch a bit of Netflix or play cards or whatever we do. But I am no longer thinking about work. But if I don't do that, you're exactly right. I'm checking my phone before I go to bed, what's in my calendar for tomorrow. I usually have, a lot of the times I will wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh, I've got to make sure I add that to my to-do list.
Emailing yourself in the night.
Yeah. And I know you do have a planner, I think, for property managers, and I also have a planner that I put together for my team in my office as well, property management planner, and it's designed around exactly those principles of helping you be organised. And I think one of the key things for us humans as well is those thoughts that we don't get out on paper, or that they just continue looping around in your head. So unless you get them out of your head and put them down somewhere, it's going to keep thinking about them. And then imagine in a day-to-day life of a property manager, you add, all those tasks that come in throughout the day. If you're not writing them down somewhere, they're going around and round and round in your head, and that stresses you out. I can't stress highly enough to property managers listening to this, to get yourself some sort of a journal or daily planner. I will share links to both of our planners in the show notes as well. Now, one of the other things I've been talking about in property management to a lot of people who've been on the podcast so far is some of the biggest struggles in the industry. I hate talking about the C word, but COVID, it did happen and it has caused some havoc in the industry. So I know you work with a lot of property managers and business owners. So what are some of or what are you seeing or hearing are some of the biggest struggles at the moment?
How long have we got? I'm just kidding. What's the biggest ones I'm seeing at the moment? I think like from a staffing and business point of view, staff and property managers in particular want more flexibility and freedom in how they work. I think, we're seeing across all parts of Australia, it doesn't matter where I speak to, the great property manager shortage, the burnout in the industry, people exiting. And then there's also from the other side, there's a fear from I think the business owners sometimes of like, well, I don't want to give that flexibility, working from home, like what are people doing? So I think that there's a bit of work to be done on creating a bit more of that environment where there is the flexibility. It depends on the person. I'm hugely productive when I work at home, and I know a lot of people are. But then it gives me the chance, right? Like, so my partner, my husband just got married, keep forgetting. He rushed the kids out the door before I jumped on this podcast. I'm putting a load of laundry on so that I can keep on top of that throughout the day. I'm like running up here, grabbing my coffee, right? So for me, like working from home then allows me to keep on top of that other stuff. So then I'm again coming back to that problem before about guilt. It's like then at the end of the day, like because I've been at home, I can be productive, get some of that home stuff done, be closer, 5 minutes away from picking up my kids. And so I think that there's a lot of people in the industry who want more of that flexibility. So I think that there's a shift that is happening and needs to happen in the workplace. But that comes with challenges itself in, monitoring and managing how people are working and what's getting done and having that, communication and sort of synergy that happens when people are in offices together. So I think as a result of COVID, there's this big sort of, everything's kind of been thrown up in the air, and we're just seeing like, that dust settling now and seeing, what are these new opportunities for the way that we can work moving forwards. And I think if we look at it, for anyone who's worried about change, if we can try and look at, okay, well, what's the opportunity here? You can sort of shift any challenge into opportunity. There you go, playing with my growth mindset right now. So I think that's been a bit of a challenge, and I think that need to help that exodus and burnout that people are experiencing, there needs to be a bit more flexibility in those working arrangements. I don't have you could probably comment on that. I don't have a property management team myself, but in the people that I work with, I'm seeing a need for that. But I think, from a property manager point of view, it's just like the expectations now compared to when I was a property manager years ago, it's just astronomical. In businesses and sitting with a property manager who's got, 1,000 emails in their inbox, right? And, some of us will go, oh my God, how do you even get there? Like, how do you even handle it, right? But you can see how it happens because the volume of what is coming in, like to an inbox on a property manager's desk each day, for some people who are, managing 200, 300, upwards properties, like it's insane, right? Like 250 properties, you might have, 400 or 500 people that you're managing. And it's not like, I feel like when I was a property manager, 10 years ago, it was much more, you did a routine, you move people in and out, but it's like people are communicating with you 24/7 now about all of their challenges and issues. And we become, counselors as much as property managers. So I think it's a real challenge in managing that volume of incoming communication and then balancing that with the tasks that need to happen to proactively keep a portfolio running day to day, making sure you're on top of arrears and routines and rent reviews. But again, I think for a property manager, one of the solutions for that is really that planning and setting the intentions of how they want the days and weeks and months to run. Because otherwise you come in and you sit down and you just start working in your inbox, and you get to the end of the day and you don't even know if you've got through the biggest and most important stuff, and there's all this other stuff sitting on your shoulder. So I can't remember exactly what the question was, but around that, I think like day to day, for a typical property manager, like it's like that volume and that weight of everything that needs to be done is huge, and it's leading to that that burnout and that volume of stress that everyone's experiencing.
I think you've just mentioned about 5 or 6 different podcast topics we can cover
totally
in that response. But yeah, you're right. And I think it is. I think it's its workload and, managing inboxes and managing people's expectations. It's not so much managing inboxes. I think it's managing people's expectations, are so much higher these days on what they expect, both landlords and tenants as well. But I think for me personally, one of the best things that I've seen come out of COVID is the number of people that have stepped up and realize that there is a lack of support, there is a lack of coaching, there is a lack of mentoring and training. And there's people have come out of the woodwork and put their hands up and said, I'm here for you, I'm here to help you. Which, when I started 15 years ago, there was people who could help you with your best practice and your legislation, but there wasn't anybody that could help you with your mindset or with your, really your systems and procedures and streamlining your workflows. And so I think, that's probably one of the benefits. And, I think, there's no shame in asking for help. You don't know everything. And if you can lean on somebody who's sort of walked the walk and talk the talk before you, there's a few people out there that can really help you move forward. And that's part of a growth mindset too, I think, as well, wanting to learn, taking on board somebody and being willing to learn as well. So,
yeah. And I can attest, the support that you've given, I think the property management industry, I think your whole community, is it a testament attests to that, because you've been fighting that fight to get that information out there on mindset and giving them that support from that other perspective, not just legislation, which, yes, we need the legislation training so that we don't end up, in tribunals and courts and things. But, that it's all well and good to have all of that. But if we don't have that mental health support and mindset and how to manage stress and, that planning and intention setting, like with your daily planner, those kind of tools, that's not really property management specific. It's, it's how to be really productive, stress resilient person from outside of the industry. That, that stuff that you're bringing in is awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think there's a lot of us that are out there. You yourself have really stepped up as well. So I think, there's support out there if you are struggling in any of the areas that we have mentioned in this podcast episode so far. And even more valuable information for anyone listening. Now, I know you love this topic. So what is one personal development tool that you can recommend to our listeners, book, podcast, or other resource?
Oh my gosh, that's a tricky one. I have to choose one. Obviously this podcast number one. I know, I feel like we've harped on about it, but honestly, a daily planning tool and reflection tool, as I said, I think the one I use it's called a Best Self Journal. You have to order it from America. I think it's the full focus one, but it kind of takes all of those practices I spoke about before. And it's I really like this one because it does that at the start of each quarter. It's what are your intentions? And I love that it does, I don't know, some of the people online might have done a life wheel before, where you kind of look at the different areas of your life, like love, relationships, health, work, blah, blah, blah. And it's at the start of each quarter, you're looking at, well, how do I rate myself in each of those areas? Where is my happiness and satisfaction in each of those areas? And you give yourself then a benchmark, maybe my health is at a 6 at the moment. And you give yourself not only then a benchmark, but then you can set some intentions around, well, what would I like to do to improve my rating or benchmark in that area? And so then, at the end of the quarter, you're then reflecting not just on the big picture goals, but as that, as a reflection of your satisfaction in those different areas of life. And so it then incorporates that then with the daily planning and tools, so I like that version of it. But that benchmarking tool, it's that self-reflection piece I don't think we give ourselves time for very often. It allows, I think, us to focus on then not just the work version of ourselves or the mum version of ourselves, but that whole version of ourselves that make us, more happy and satisfied along the way. and it's not necessarily big ones. I think my one, if my health's a 6, it might just be, okay, well, I'd like to, make sure I get in my daily walks and eat healthier. And so what do I need? It takes you through then, what do you want to do to implement those? Well, I need to put those walks in my diary and, have some time aside for meal prep or grocery shopping or whatever it is each week in the diary. So I like this reflection tool in this benchmark, what I call this benchmarking tool, to help you kind of look at, well, how do I feel in every area of my life? What do I want to do to improve those different areas? Like, what am I focusing on for this next period? And then being able to kind of give yourself a measure at the end, go, well, how happy and satisfied am I in each of those areas now? It can show you that you've kind of moved forward and progressed. So yeah, I think that's like, it's one of my favorite tools at the moment.
That I love that. That is brilliant. Do you have one that you can share with our listeners that we can put in the show notes and they can download?
Yeah.
Perfect.
For sure.
That'd be awesome. Okay, so how can our listeners find out more about you or reach out to work with you further?
Yeah, I thank you. I'm usually most going to kind of see what I'm up to and get some inspiration. I'm usually most active on my Instagram. It's my social media of choice. So that's just at Hermione Hart. I used to be Gardner, but now I'm Hart. Just got married recently. But otherwise, yeah, most of my services and offerings are on my website at sidekick.net.au. And you can always just book a discovery chat. Sometimes you don't know what you need. And sometimes I might chat with you and go, yeah, cool, this is what you need. I'm not the right person to work with you, but I can point you in the right direction of what you might need. Or we can then go and talk about how I could work with you, either one-on-one or with the business. So yeah, I'm here if you need any help.
Thank you so much. That's amazing.
All right. Thanks so much for having me on, and you're doing an amazing job. I'm proud of you for getting your podcast off the ground.
Thank you so much.